Hey, good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome to the Volquest Mailbag Podcast. I'm Eric Kane with Austin Price, Rob Lewis, and Brent Hubbs. As always, big thank you to our friends Exterior Home Solutions, East Tennessee's first choice in roofing. You can trust your local source since 1999. That is 865-524-5888 for a free estimate, or visit them online at exteriorhomesolutions.com. Got a whole lot to get into here today. Got plenty of questions, so we'll try to move through them as quickly as we can. We'll start with Z-Rob 023. Brent, what's the starting offensive line look like in Orlando for the Citrus Bowl?
Oh, I think that's a great question. I think it starts with where's Gerald Mincey and what's he going to do in this game? Where is he physically? I don't think Spraggins is going to play. So my guess right now would be Dane Davis, Jackson Lampley, Ollie Lane, John Campbell, and then AP Cooper Mays. Is that what we're going? Or is that what we're thinking right now? Or where are we at on that one?
Yeah, that's who I think it'll be. The ones you just named from Campbell, Lane, Cooper, Lampley, over to I think Dane Davis would probably be the right call. Now, if Mincy can go, then I think it would be Mincy. The interesting question is let's say that somebody got hurt. Let's say whatever. Like, who is that? Do they go back to Andre Kerry? It'd probably be where they would go, right? I mean, I can't imagine that it would be somebody else at the guard spot if Ollie had to slide into center or Ollie got hurt and couldn't go. Like that extra guard there would be more interesting because Addison Nichols is obviously gone.
Well, and I wonder if you don't take and slide Dane Davis in at guard and play Mincy out at the tackle position. Would that be something that you look at as a possibility? I know he hasn't played guard there this year much, but he's played a little center. He has played inside. He's got some experience. That might make a little more sense than, say, a Vyson Lang or, where's Kerrick at? Where's Andre at from a recovery standpoint from the injury that he suffered? If he's available, he would make the most sense.
The real question is who will they be blocking for, whether it be at running back or at quarterback? Because I think that this team will look a lot different potentially when we get to Orlando. Does Joe play? I don't think it's a laydown that he does. I think that this could be the Nico show if Joe elects to not play the bowl game. And then a running back, Jalen Wright's not going to play, and I don't believe Jabari Small will either. So I think it's going to be Dylan Sampson and Cam Selden.
SS Steve 006, do you believe that the team not coming out ready to play in certain games is worrisome? He mentions Austin Peay, Alabama second half, and we had not seen this until this year with this coaching staff. Rob, we've talked about the losses. I mean, they're losses, but it's the way they've lost and just kind of not coming out and being anything in Missouri, second half Alabama, even in wins like Austin Peay, like the poster says. Is this worrisome for the staff?
I think worrisome is a strong word because I think if you follow, not just you and me, but if fans follow every team as closely as they follow Tennessee, I think you'll see that. You can pick your spot. So Georgia didn't come out ready to play against South Carolina. In the first game of the season. I mean that stuff happens to everyone. If it happens, week in and week out, then yeah, it's a problem. But I mean, to me, the only this may be oversimplifying, but I think the only game that what the guys asking what that really cost Tennessee was at Florida. To me, I mean, Missouri was better. Alabama was playing for a national championship. They were a better football team. I mean, I think Tennessee came out flat at Florida and lost to a team that, to me, I still say Tennessee's a better team than Florida.
Yeah, I mean, for me, AP, it's about Tennessee not being able to handle adversity as much as it is them being flat. I mean, you look at the Alabama deal, they did not handle that fair catch deal and obviously missing the fourth down. That they didn't handle that very well. I know they gave up to start the second half. They gave up a bust there. That's an adjustment made by the Alabama staff. And then Eric, I don't think that Tennessee handled the fumble at the end of the first half at Missouri very well. You're sitting there, you're in a situation where you're getting ready to go in and be tied or take the lead, and then all of a sudden that thing kind of gets away from you in the second half because I don't think you recovered from that. So I don't know that this team handled adversity as well as you would like for them to, more so than it is about them being, quote, flat to start a half or to not start a half. The Austin Peay games, Joe was just bad to start that game. They clearly tried to get him going, throwing the football, and he couldn't couldn't connect with anybody to start the game. He had a bunch of guys open. That got that thing sideways.
Hey, Hubs, can you do this for me? You had the whole Dr. Evil cat thing going on here when you had
I know. This cat jumped up in my lap, and I'm not real sure why. So
not AP and Max, but it's the
nobody tops Max.
You want to do that?
Oh, it's been a couple years since we've had a cat appearance on the podcast. I think the last time we saw your cat was when we were doing Zoom. And nobody actually saw it except for us, and you kept on getting annoyed.
What are you going to do? It's at least show the cat as opposed to having the tail kind of walk through the screen, right?
But to your point too, I mean, in Florida, the second quarter, you get behind the sticks, you get penalties, you have a turn. I mean, it kind of you never really responded the way you needed to in some of those losses. So I would agree with that. The fumble at Missouri is I think the best example, because you had something going. And you cough it up there at the 10-yard line, and then you were done. Back it up. Let's go to Athrun. Can a coach really be judged also on his recruiting before a portal season is done anymore?
No, because everybody's like, what's Tennessee going to be? Are they going to be top 10? Are they going to be top 5? Are they, tell me what they're going to be. Give me the percentages and all that, and all that's fine. But that's really kind of an old trick. Like, I think. Like let's say Tennessee only takes 20 kids because they're going to go heavier in the portal. Their class isn't going to be ranked as high as it would be if they took 25 kids, 24 kids. Now there are instances if you just have an elite class that you can, take 20 and still end up in the top 3. If you have just nothing but 4 and several 5 stars. But I think, you're better off to kind of wait and kind of see what they do, on the whole, because I think rankings of schools probably become less important with the portal. I think they still matter some, but not nearly as much as they used to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look at Florida State, Rob. Florida State was 20th in recruiting last year. Okay. The portal, but if you took in and added their portal kids, the wide receivers and some of the guys they had in the portal that added to that team, that's better than the 20th class. And the difference with the portal is the impact those guys make as opposed to the high school kids in a class that it might be 2 years down the road before they make an impact. So I think it's hard. A lot of people say re-rank them after the portal closes. Okay, maybe, but how do you rank a kid who's a junior in college versus a kid who's a high school guy in a recruiting class? So I think those things are really hard to put in a calculation and figure that out.
Even with that, how do you rank? Did anybody really know what McAllen Castles was? How do you rank a kid that's been playing Division II? What's his equivalent?
Look at Jared Verse.
Everybody,
that's everybody
5-star plus.
Everybody thought he would be good. Did everybody thought he would be this good? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and if you're saying yes, it's easy to go back and have revisionist history. Oh yeah, I knew he was going to be that. Yeah. Clearly, when we sit over there at the Marriott or wherever we were, Hyatt or wherever we interviewed him at Hubbard, we all knew he was going to be what he was, right? Like, there was nothing about that kid that just screamed disruptive, unbelievable, And like, you thought he would be good,
right?
He had length. Very mature, but
how is it going to transfer up a level, right? Nobody could sit there and look at that guy coming out of the portal, leaving Albany, and go, "That's a top 10 NFL draft pick. That's who that guy is." Nobody saw that being the possibility. It's a credit to Jarrett. Sure. He made the adjustment. He went to work and made himself a better football player at Florida State, and is going to reap the benefits of it. But I just don't know how you put guys like that and how you evaluate those guys. I think it's really, really a challenge.
But I do think it has to be part of the conversation for the rankings. Maybe it's separate, than high school rankings. But we deal with it every day. So I think we kind of lose. We're just used to it. But man, the portal is enormous. Hubbard, use your almanac brain. Prior to 2000, prior to the portal, whatever, who's the most impactful transfer that Tennessee has ever had in football? I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday, and I couldn't really come up with, somebody that really just pops off the page.
Wow. That's a great question, because those guys.
Would you count JUCO in that conversation?
No JUCO.
Okay.
No JUCO.
Yeah, I mean the transfer guys. The problem with those is they had to sit for a year.
Yeah, and
for
so
the most part. So like everybody thought Brandon Warren transfer
Malik
to
Jackson
Florida
would be a
State
tremendous.
was going to be a big deal, right? AP.
Yeah, when he came back, everybody thought he would, but it just never just translated,
Right.
and he had so many off the field deals.
And
But he
I
was
think
coming off
and-
that freshman All-American year where he made diving catches and all kinds of stuff at Florida State. I think impact Malik Jackson for me. I mean, he had a really good.
that's a good one, and
Yeah.
and that was also a result of the pseudo death penalty at USC. I mean,
But he was an impactful
he
player.
was, and I think
Absolutely.
because of what you're saying, Hubbard, about having to sit out a year, I think and I don't mean to talk bad about Brandon, but I think a lot of your transfers were guys like that who had some off the field stuff that needed to like the school they were leaving didn't necessarily care to see them go. And I just it's just revolutionized things. I know we all know that, but I was just thinking that's crazy to think about. Prior to 5-10 years ago, you're talking about a Malik Jackson being the most. He was a good player, but that's a drop in the pan compared to what you're talking about now every single year.
Well, it's made December the new January. The early signing date has not made December the new February because it's such an afterthought. Those guys have been committed to so long, and there's no drama. The transfer portal is the story for the first couple of weeks, first 3 weeks here in December, and is going to be that way as long as this system is in place the way it's in place right now.
Got a couple more here from Atheron AP. Thoughts on the portal visitors for this weekend, and at the time of this recording, and you put out several notes as the week's gone on. It's a mile a minute, things change, but thoughts on Jordan Seaton, his decision coming up later today.
Come on, AP. We're all waiting. What do you got?
Plead the fifth. As far as the transfers, Holden stays. I think I'm interested to kind of see where he wants to go with the process. Getting his Atlanta kid, got 2 years of eligibility left.
And that's the kid from Notre Dame.
That's right.
People who haven't figured it out.
Yeah. And that's a good point, Howard. You have to really kind of say these things because there's so many moving parts and so many names.
Right.
But yeah, like the kid from Notre Dame, Holden stays, is probably to me the one that I would be the most intrigued by if I'm Tennessee. He has got 2 years left. I know the Tennessee fans love the Jolly kid because they saw him play and they saw him get 80 yards for the balls in Neyland Stadium in the month of November. Stays at 4 touchdowns at Notre Dame this year, which is a good solid number. And I'm interested to kind of see where he is, see what Jolly thinks coming out of the weekend. And then we'll go from there. Like Juice Wells, I'm gonna go ahead and just pour the bucket of water on the fire there. Like I'm gonna slow the roll on that one. Like, he'll be here this weekend, but that one's gonna be, a hard NIL battle in my opinion.
Money.
These transfers, man, they ask for the moon, and we'll see kind of what happens there. With Juice Wells, but I would pour water on the fire, right now on that one. And as for Jordan Seaton, it's a thrill a minute. As I said with Josh Newberg, I said the Ohio State guys think it's Tennessee and Ohio State. The Oregon guys think it's Oregon and Ohio State. And me, I think it's Tennessee and Oregon. So everybody's got a different two, right? And we'll see. A lot of things out here continue to feel really good about Tennessee, but at the same time, the going to LA for the announcement, there's some things about this that are just kind of like, man, it kind of gives you pause. But it's giving everybody pause. It's not just Tennessee or me. It's a lot of people.
All right, we'll go to Jay Bennett's. Brent Hubbs, any traction with any quarterbacks that would at least be interested in looking at Tennessee through the portal? Could Tyler Van Dyke be an option? Seems like somebody okay with not starting. I don't think Van Dyke would be an option, but quarterbacks overall.
He's not okay with not starting.
I know.
I mean, I don't.
That was my thoughts.
But Brent Lane Kiffin signed 3 last year.
Yeah, and I bet you the guy that transferred in from Oklahoma State when I made a mistake.
Oh yeah,
because I didn't have a chance to beat out Jackson Dart. I mean, these guys want to play, and so I just don't think that Tennessee's an attractive quarterback destination because everybody knows that this is Nico's team. The minute Joe stops playing, whether
Which
that's
could be
pre-bowl
sooner rather
game
than
or
later.
post- yeah, whenever that is, it's the Nico era at Tennessee, and every quarterback out there knows that. And look, here's the other thing too. Look at the number of quarterbacks that have gone in the portal this year. I've not done the research, but I bet that position has grown in portal entries year over year more than any other position. Right? I mean, you look at the number of guys going in. What are they all going in for? Two reasons. One, playing time. Two, money. It's what Dave Clawson said, right? Notre Dame's going to go rent my quarterback for a year because they can pay him a lot more than Wake Forest has a chance to pay him. And look at, I mean, the kid from Coastal Carolina, what's he looking for? More playing time? No, he's looking for money, right? And then there's other guys who are looking for playing time, like Brock Vandergriff. Tennessee doesn't really offer either one of those to a quarterback, which is why I don't think a quarterback in the portal makes any sense for Tennessee, and I don't see them signing anybody in the portal at that position.
Get him, Hubbard. Get him.
I just don't see it. I mean, it doesn't make sense for a quarterback to come here is what I'm saying.
It doesn't. You're right. Like when a kid sits down, thinks about it, and says, if Nico stays healthy, I'm probably not going on the field. You just have to kind of say that out loud. And like now, do you really think one of these kids are going to come here? In a perfect world, you need somebody like Clemson has, but you do already have that. You already have that.
More.
You already have that Gaston Moore.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, half the people were ready to start him after the spring game last year. Same group that wants Al Wilson to be the linebackers coach and Peyton Manning the head coach.
Or quarterbacks coach, AP.
Got to put Whitten on that staff, too.
I know. People are going to say I'm being mean and I'm being –
You're being grinchy.
Yeah.
Turn around and look at that Christmas tree and get in that festive holiday spirit, AP.
Well, man.
Well, it's been up since Halloween,
You knew it was bad when he stapled the antlers on Max this morning.
Did have family pictures this week, right, AP?
You're right. Family pictures.
And I will
give my kids credit.
Going into Whoville.
I will give my kids credit. Normally, I'm having to threaten them with an inch of their lives to smile and everything else.
Be jolly.
Standing. And you may tell you who really killed and crushed the family Christmas pictures was Max, who did, when for those that don't know, I have Santa Claus comes to my house. We've done this every year that we've been in the current house we're in, and Santa comes.
He's got connections everywhere, guys. Literally everywhere, up to the North Pole.
And I thought Max would lose his mind because we never really we never kind of ingrained Max into the Santa pics until this year. And dude, he was mesmerized by the big guy in red. Just all about it. Which is bizarre because my dog literally barks, as you all hear on this podcast most of the time. Anytime somebody, comes walking by my front door because it's got a window pane on it, or this time of year, my wife has an Amazon delivery. It's like, and so like he was fantastic.
All right, let's go to Ms. Denarius Moore. What's the heart of the penalty issue, Rob? Is it the pace of play, issues with leadership, culture from the coaches? Tennessee's a penalized team. Josh Heupel teams are always heavily penalized, and that's something that's gotta work to try to negate next year moving forward.
I mean, I don't have the answer to that. I mean, because we don't see practice. I don't know what they emphasize, but I mean, I just the numbers because of the numbers. I mean, it's not a fluke. I mean, we can agree with that. I just think it's got to be something in the attention to detail, how much emphasis you put on it in practice. And I'm not saying that they can't coach it or they won't coach it, but just when it's not fluky. It's got to be, to me, just how much it's emphasized in practice. And I don't want to say Tennessee's sloppy, but you can't lead the nation in scoring and total offense if you're sloppy. If you don't coach details. But man, I mean, when you see those kind of numbers that consistently, it's just to me, it just suggests you're not paying enough attention in practice.
But Hubs, when you're not leading the country in points and scoring and all that, it's very noticeable. Nobody cared in 2022, but in 2021, Florida game, Pittsburgh game, Ole Miss game, and then of course this year, I mean, it was pretty evident.
Yeah, it's a thing. And look, they're always going to push the boundary on that offensive pass interference call. Tempo is always going to create a potential problem for a false start, and some things like that. But there's some other things that they just have to clean up and got to be better be better at. I mean, they had 4 or 5 roughing the passer penalties this year that were just completely avoidable. Like
Omar Norman Lott had 6 of them. So, yeah.
Like stop. You know what I mean? Like don't take the extra 3 steps, right? Like sidestep them. You've got plenty of room to do that. So there's some things I think from a discipline standpoint they can clean up. They're always going to push that boundary on that offensive pass interference penalty. They're always going to have more than those than anybody wants because they're right on that line, and one official might view it one way one week and not view it that way the next week. And so they're always going to have some penalties. They can't have as many as they had this year, particularly those personal foul penalties that they got themselves into, illegal hands to the face and stuff like that.
We've got plenty more questions we'll get into as we continue on here with the Volquest Mailbag podcast. But first, let's get a word from our friends Exterior Home Solutions.
It's one of those phone calls that you hate to get from your kids. Hey, Dad, a tree fell on my house. Well, we got that call a couple of weeks back from our daughter at her house here. And the first call that I made was to Exterior Home Solutions. The peace of mind that they gave me and us as a family when they came out here and came up with a plan, got us connected with the right people, is absolutely priceless. Use the same people that I use. In that time of need, Exterior Home Solutions.
Big thanks to our friends Exterior Home Solutions for being a part of the show each and every Tuesday and Thursday here on the Volquest podcast. Some questions on the board the last couple of days regarding Keenan Pili in terms of could he play, how would that affect potential return if he wanted to come back. K. Hensley 1062 wants to know if he plays in this bowl game from a health perspective. That means, Austin, he couldn't do a medical redshirt, correct?
Right. He can't. If he plays in this bowl game, he's not playing in the bowl game. Let's go ahead and he can't play in the bowl game and come back next year.
Let's go to Burning Mattress 2010. I like that handle. Any context to as to why the younger guys like Jack Luttrell, Addison Nichols entered the portal? Felt like Addison was mentioned several times as a guy who was close to contributing. Could he not just take that little bit better to get him a role, Brent?
Well, I think it's everybody's making their own personal choice. I mean, Jack Luttrell felt like his opportunities weren't going to be here. I think he was frustrated with some different things throughout the process of it all this year, and just I think both parties are fine with that move. As for Addison Nichols, I think it was opportunity, playing time, fit, comfort, relationship. I don't think that one was about money. I don't think that was a situation. I just think that he felt like he needed a fresh start to give himself a better opportunity to be a play. I mean, obviously he had a chance a couple of different times, spring and fall camp, to put himself in the lineup, and I'm sure he felt like he performed better than others thought he performed, and the coaches thought he performed, and felt like he deserved some more opportunities and didn't get them. And I think he just felt like he needed a new start somewhere.
All right, let's go to Dub P17. Choose a door. Who are the starting safeties next year? And he says you can choose multiple doors. Door 1 would be a current roster guys, so 2 guys who are currently on the roster, and he wants to know who. Door 2 would be transfer. I don't know if that's one transfer or not, but door 2 is transfer. And door 3 is freshman, maybe Boo Carter. Well, there's 2 safety spots. So, Rob, what do you think? Which door are you taking in terms of who the starting safeties are going to be next year?
I mean, I think that's a great question. I think
it's a combination of doors, yeah.
I mean, I would agree with that. But I mean, we've seen so little of the young guys. I mean, how could you say a freshman? I mean, when you literally have not gotten a shot to have any kind of gauge of what those kids are like. I mean, I don't mean to cop out, but we've got so little to look at, with the guys on the roster that it's kind of impossible to say that. So I mean, Eric, it's kind of a cop out, but I'll go with you. I think combination. I mean, I'll be surprised if everybody that's going to start there is on this roster, but maybe they are. I mean, maybe Jalen McCullough was just that good and kept him off the field for 4 quarters every game.
CAP, I think you want to say a combination of doors, but I'd probably take door number 1, current guys on the roster, wouldn't you?
Yes. I would take current guys on the roster at safety. Because
who do you think, App?
Well, you got options, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean,
providing
Tamarion
McDonald's back, I would say that he probably is one of your starting safeties next year. Then I think it depends on what happens with Wesley Walker. I mean, I think there's even if it's a slight chance, I think there's a chance he comes back. I would lean to it not happening. I would lean to it being a younger guy, but either way, that person's on this roster. So that's kind of where I'm at with the safety spots as of right now. I think Boo Carter, which was mentioned, is going to be a star, and play the nickel. So you can take that however you want to. He's going to play star. Maybe he's going to be a star. Either way, I don't put him at the safety spot.
All right, let's go to Sam Smith, 2233. Rob, what is the scout on the Fighting Illini?
Man, I wouldn't have thought they were kind of pedestrian until they scored 98 last night in the Garden against Florida Atlantic. Tough, veteran. I haven't, looked at them hard. I haven't paid attention to last night's game just, since they're the next team up. The 98 points surprised me. I think that's probably somewhat of a byproduct of how Florida Atlantic played. I don't think you'll see this game played in the 90s on Saturday, but, with Brad Underwood, they're tough. They're physical. And they've got some old dudes, like Tennessee does, that they can rely on. I don't think they'll have a problem, with the road environment. And Terrence Shannon is the guy that you're going to pay attention to. I mean, really went off last night. Had 33 points in their win. He's a big, strong veteran wing. Him and Dalton Connect will probably be the matchup of the day. I don't know if they'll end up guarding each other, but those are the two guys that you'll really pay attention to in this game: Terrence Shannon and Dalton.
Also wants to know about the Iowa defense. Is it good only because it plays in the Big Ten West? That's not the only reason. They spread the wealth. Jay Higgins is one of the best linebackers in the country. And their front seven, they spread the wealth in terms of getting after the quarterback. Joe Evans has 5.5 sacks. Yaya Black has 3.5 sacks. Logan Lee has 3 sacks. You kind of go up and down the list. Plus, their star player is one of the better ones that Tennessee's going to see all year. So, sure, they play in a weaker division in the Big Ten, but they're pretty solid. They're a top 5 defense in the country any way you want to look at it. Let's go to DeKalb County Vol. With the success that Tennessee's had with staff at the receiver position, is it poor planning on the coaching staff on the number of bodies, or is it lack of depth in the portal or high school ranks? Brent, if you want to try this one.
Well, I think it's hard to keep those guys on the roster. It's hard to keep a deep roster of receivers with the way that the offense plays and the rotation that you have at the receiver spot. Those guys are looking for opportunities. That's why Jimmy Holiday left. It's why Callaway left. It's why Walker Merrill left. This year, because of injury, they were forced to play more bodies. But how many guys would they have played this year if there hadn't been an injury to Brew McCoy and to Dante Thornton? I think it's going to be hard for they want more bodies, but I think it's going to be hard to keep a lot of bodies at that position. I think it's going to be hard to keep 24 defensive backs on your roster. Even though they play special teams, at some point those guys are going to want to play. And if they're like, hey, I'm not the top 7 or 8, then I need to look moving elsewhere. And I just think that's the world we live in right now. So I think you're always going to struggle with depth at the receiver position. Because those guys just don't want to set, much like quarterbacks don't want to set. They're looking for an opportunity. And, hey, they can look out there and go, hey, this quarterback's on the move somewhere. Okay, maybe he needs some help to somebody to throw to. Maybe that's a good place for me to go. And they can follow a quarterback a little bit, from time to time as well. So, I think it's going to be hard to have depth there is my point.
Let's go to Coach_93. It's a good question. With 2024 season upon us, what are you most excited about? Is it Texas, Oklahoma joining the SEC, the playoffs going to 12 teams? Also going forward, is it more important to win an SEC championship or routinely to make the playoffs? Again, good question, couple different angles, Austin. I think for his last part, the emphasis on the SEC championship is not as big as it has been, but it's still good to win it because you're probably playing for home field advantage. But the crown here is getting that playoff, so you can do that without winning a championship or playing in a championship. What are your thoughts on that?
I think what you want here is you just want to win games, because if you win enough games, you're going to put yourself in position for all that. If you make it to Atlanta, to me, you're going to be playing in the playoff. I think the team that wins either division will have a good enough year. I don't see anybody making it to Atlanta at 8-4, right, or 9-3 even. So like, if you make it to Atlanta, you're likely going to be in the playoff. So I mean, I'm most excited about the playoff, and in particular, Hubbard and Rob, the first round of the playoffs. I think it would be fantastic if Tennessee's going to Michigan, or Michigan's coming to Tennessee, or Ohio State's going to Auburn, or Auburn's going to Washington. Like, sign me up for these on-campus first-round matchups of the playoffs. I think that's probably what I'm most excited about. I think it'll be awesome. It'll be like the NFL playoffs in so many ways.
Yeah, I'm totally excited about that, Rob. Because look, we've got some of those matchups in the preseason games, but what do you say? That's one game. It's the value of playing that is it's good for TV ratings, but it doesn't cost you. It's not the most costly thing in the world, or it doesn't benefit you, as Florida State fans found out.
I was getting ready to say the exact same thing.
But the fact that you're going to play that in December, and the losers playing the next week, or the winners playing the next week, and the losers going home, the intensity of those games, I think that's just going to be fantastic for the month of December for college football.
Here's a question for you. I want to pose this question: had Tennessee, I think they had made it last year regardless, but let's say Joe Milton was the backup to Jordan Travis, and not kind of where Florida State was at the position. If Joe Milton had been on the roster at Florida State with the potential, right? Because I mean, I think of that last year, a lot of it was just potential. Do you think Florida State goes in ahead of Alabama if they've got a better backup quarterback, a more, an option that has potential to it? Whereas I think most people just saw Florida State as stagnant.
Yeah, what did Joe do in those two games, right? I mean, if we're following the same script, we saw how gross Florida State was at that position for 2 games. What did Joe do in those 2 games? If he lit it up, then heck yeah, right? If he was as bad as those guys, then maybe not.
But you already have your answer to this question, because they put Ohio State in with Cordell Jones. Yeah. Because Cordell Jones put up 50 points against a really bad, what is that, the Western Division opponent in the Big Ten championship game that turned into a scrimmage because Wisconsin had no business being there. If the kid, the third team guy wasn't going to be able to do it. But if Florida State had done anything pulse-wise offensively the last 2 weeks, I mean, they were down 12-0 against Florida, Rob, and their defense got them back in the game. And then, they couldn't do anything against Louisville. And I think it was the eyeball test there. So whether it was Joe Milton or whoever it was, if somebody had put up points offensively and they had been able to do something, then I think it's a different conversation. I think it was an easy out for the committee because Florida State's offense was so bad, particularly in that Louisville game.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. I mean, I think the on-campus stuff is going to be phenomenal. I mean, just off the charts. I think Eric makes a great point. I think it is going to de-emphasize the conference championship. I mean, like real quick, what year did Rick Barnes and Admiral Schofield and Tennessee beat Georgia, in the last game of the regular season to win the SEC basketball championship? I can't remember if it was 2018 or 19 myself.
Right.
But you'll remember exactly what they did in the NCAA tournament. What year, where they were playing, what the seed was. Even.
Well, and that's the only thing about the conference championship. That Sunday deal is what can you do seeding wise? What does that game mean for you? Does it get you a bye? Does it get you a first round game? What does it get you in the playoff? And that's why the emphasis is still going to be there to win that game instead of that being the last week of the NFL regular season where you set a bunch of guys to get ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, I think there'll be stuff to play for in that game for sure. But as far as
you're not going to want to
there's no divisions, so you got to look at it this way: in a 12-team playoff, you best believe there's going to be more than 2 teams from the SEC in there, right? So if you're that 3rd or 4th team on the pecking order, you're still probably in, and whereas if you get in there and you lose, maybe you're not.
Well, and my God, I mean, would you try to go to Ann Arbor or host in Knoxville? Exactly. I mean, you're going to try to win that game. I mean,
that's the value. But it's going to be more about it's going to be less about the trophy and more about the product of the winning the next week, because it gives you a better chance to win, to win a national championship. That's going to be the more emphasis about it is what does it mean seating wise if you win, more so than it is the confetti coming at the end of the game and lifting up a trophy.
All right, got to go. Couple more here. Let's run through these. Nike_Vols says, does Nico redshirting this year, thus being a redshirt freshman in 2024, impact Jake Merklinger or G-Mac's temperature on Tennessee, and the thought expectation on playing time in the future?
No, because I think most people expect Nico to play. If Nico is who you hope he is, right? Nico's going to play the next 2 years and be off to the NFL after you.
Yeah, if Nico's here as a redshirt freshman and somebody, then you probably had better have over recruited.
You mean that's your senior? Yeah.
Yes, excuse me. If he's here, if he's here in 4 years, and then something's gone wrong.
Okay. Sloppy Vol says, with redshirt freshman and freshman Sham, Bennett Warren, Gage Ginther, Jesse Perry, and hopefully Jordan Seaton, do you see Jeremiah's Hurd on the defensive line first?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I could see that him starting on the defensive line, and then we'll see from there. Tennessee's got a lot of probably a lot of these defensive linemen coming back, and so it feels like that room will be loaded, crowded, and talented.
Yeah, and I don't know how much Hurd's going to play as a freshman. Period. So I think that's one of those deals wherever he's at, he's going to be behind some veterans and learning, but I think he's going to start out on defense.
All right, AP. You got an over-under. The number is 4 that Tennessee gets from this group of freshmen and or transfers. You ready?
Yes.
All right, Jordan Seaton, Justin Jolie, Walter Nolan, Holden Stays, Juice Wells, Jaron Sensabaugh, Jay Kelly, Nate Anderson. It says Grimes. Is Tony Grimes in the portal again? I don't know.
Bill Grimes is coming back out, baby.
I think that's Reggie Grimes. Isn't that Reggie Grimes Jr. who went in the portal? Who's a mid-state guy? Yeah, okay, I think he's talking about him.
And then Cook. I don't know who Cook is. It's not Brady Cook. And then Michael Smith. So you got that group of guys.
Too many
numbers at 4 over under.
Too many for me to even remember back to contemplate. Sorry, give me 8 names. Don't give me 50 names and expect me to get 4.
Tennessee is Tennessee looking at Nate Anderson at all? That's one that I've been asked a ton this week. Of course, brother of Max Anderson.
Yeah, I as of right now, I don't see that, but
okay.
Anything could change.
Yeah, that's the thing is this thing changes by
daily.
Your number, you're playing position, then you're playing numbers at the position that you need. Those numbers depend on who's coming back, who's not coming back.
They'll offer Kid Hubbard and then just to get in the game and then
just to see where it's at. Yeah, look, you're talking about Wells earlier. You talk to Wells and you bring him in, and okay, if he's interested, then you have that conversation. But if it's all only about finances and he's wanting an astronomical amount of money, then you're probably not going that direction, right? But you have to offer to figure out where you're going and to see what's available and what's not available. So that's just the way this game works, and it's changing not by the day, but changing by the hour in a lot of cases.
Yep.
Run CMG 22 says, do y'all think it's a good or bad to play freshman on the offensive line at left tackle or right tackle? Brent, if he's good enough to play, you play him, but typically that's you like veterans on the offensive line. But if you got a Darnell Wright that comes in polished and ready to go, you play him.
Well, listen, Tennessee's played some freshmen at those positions and have done well through the years. You had a year where Jawan James plays out there and played really well at tackle. So yeah, it's a case-by-case basis. Is that the ideal world? If you sit down with a coach, Rob, and said, "Hey, do you want to play a freshman tackle?" No. It's the same way do you want to look at an NFL head coach and go, "Hey, do you want to play a freshman or a rookie left tackle in the National Football League?" That's not your ideal situation, but the world we're living in now, your best talented players play, and the idea that somebody waits till their 3rd year to play on the offensive line in some cases holds true, but in a lot of cases still doesn't hold true.
No, but usually in this league, you're going to be in trouble unless it's somebody. 2 guys whose names have been mentioned were both first-round NFL draft picks. Jawan James and Darnell Wright that have done it here at Tennessee. So, it's not the norm. But yeah, you're right. It's going to become more norm, but it hasn't. I mean, guys that have done it and done it well in this league have been special.
Well, and then there's been some times where a guy was ready and coach was reluctant to play him. Aaron Sears should have played
Aaron
much earlier in
Sears.
his career than he did, right? I mean, so a lot of times it's about by force. You know, I mean, Darnell Wright played because they gave him a starting job when he got his uniform. Same thing with Jawan James because they didn't have any other options. But Aaron Sears, they had some more veteran guys, but everybody who watched practice went, that guy's the best one. You know, why, you know, and it was November before he got the starting lineup. So coaches by nature are going to play veteran guys. That's just kind of their tendencies, particularly at that spot.
All right, last one from Wake Vol. It's a good one. Why would the powers that be allow sitting ADs or anyone with vested interest in the outcome of the 4-team playoffs sit on that committee and make those decisions?
Who are you going to put on it?
I was going to say, I mean, what other group?
We're going to go to
people
Congress and get 12 representatives to be in the deal? I mean,
everybody, as Nick Saban says, and this is where I agree with Nick Saban for a change. Everybody comes from somewhere. And so you can go get people that aren't connected to college football, but guess what? They went somewhere to school. They are a fan of some team. And so anytime you had to enter the human element, you're going to have this type of thought process.
Yeah, I mean, it's been that way on the basketball committee, right, Rob, for the tournament for years. Oh, this conference gets a bias because their conference commissioner is on the committee, or this former coach, or this AD, or whoever is the chairman, or is a part of that committee process. I mean, AP's right. Human element changes everything.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
All right, a lot going on in the world of college athletics right now. Basketball season still continuing on, but man, it's silly season for Tennessee football and college football. Transfer portal's open. All the latest news on who Tennessee's interested in, players leaving Tennessee's roster, entering the transfer portal, and of course, Tennessee getting ready for the Citrus Bowl in Iowa. You can all find that at Volquest.com. Big thank you for tuning in and sending in questions for the Mailbag podcast. A big thanks to Exterior Home Solutions. Local and trusted since 1999. Give Exterior Home Solutions a call today at 865-524-5888 or visit them online at exteriorhomesolutions.com. For Austin Price, Rob Lewis, Brent Hubbs, I'm Eric Kane. Appreciate you guys as always for tuning in to the Volquest Mailbag Podcast.